Hello, and thank you for being with us today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to start the Radical Self Love project? Is that what you call it, the project, or?
Yeah, I guess so. So I'm Gala Darling. I'm originally from New Zealand, but I've lived in New York City for the last 8 years. And I started working on and thinking about the concept of radical self love after dealing with depression and an eating disorder in my teens and early 20s. And I was able to switch that and change my thinking. And from there, I've really just been investigating how we can make ourselves happier, how we can live the life of our dreams, and how we can really break free from those restrictions that we feel that we have. And I wrote my first book last year. I self-published it, and it became an Amazon bestseller. And then a publishing house picked it up, and they re-released it this February. So it's all very exciting.
So exciting. And
Yeah.
so the Radical Self Love project, it's mainly online, is that right?
Yeah, it's mostly online, and I think that's a great way to do things because people can connect with each other and find people that they never knew were into the same stuff as them. So I always wanted to start a magazine, especially when I first started my blog, and I thought I would start the blog, and then if that worked, I would turn it into a magazine. And really, doing things online is very cost effective and everything's archived and searchable. And people can really connect with one another. And the sense of community we have on like my Facebook page and in the various groups I have is amazing. And all these women are meeting up around the world, and it's like the coolest thing ever.
You can really see that too just through looking through the different social media platforms that you're active on. You can see that there's a really strong sense of community, which is really admirable. And how
Yeah.
can people that are watching this get involved with the community and the project?
So reading the blog is great, obviously. So on galadarling.com, I'm posting, 2 or 3 times a week on radical self-love and relationships and magic and all the stuff that I love. And then the Facebook page is probably the second best place to get kind of involved with those people. So it's facebook.com/xo galadarling. And there's a lot going on there. And I'm on Snapchat and Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff too. So there's lots of ways to connect with me if that's what you want to do.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we've asked the Collectively community to send through a couple of questions for you, and everyone was very
Cool.
excited, so we picked through
Yay.
some of the best ones.
Okay.
So here we go. So the first one comes from someone in Australia, actually, and they said, "What the heck does self love mean, and why should I care?"
Okay. So self love is really different to everybody, and my definition of radical self love today might be different to what it is tomorrow because it's continually shifting the way that we are shifting, and our emotions are changing, and our views on the world are changing. But I think we can really boil it down to radical self love is treating yourself the way you would treat your best friend. So your best friend might drive you crazy. She says she's going to do one thing and she does another, and she chooses the wrong boyfriend over and over again. But you never say like, "Oh, you're so stupid. I can't believe blah blah blah." You are supportive and loving and as non-judgmental as possible. And if we could have that attitude towards ourselves, then we could really make ourselves feel good, and we would feel less pressure to be perfect all the time because that's ridiculous. And I think we've all been disapproving of ourselves for such a long time, and it's not working. Like maybe it's time to try something else.
Perfect. This leads really well into the next question.
Okay.
Okay, so this one's from New York. It says, "I'm feeling so burnt out. I work a job I hate to pay the bills, and all I want to do is channel my energy into something that will help me make the world a better place. How
Okay.
can I make this happen?"
Well, I think the most important thing when you have a passion project is to keep at it no matter what your circumstances are. So, the fact that you have a job that you hate is actually a great thing because you have a roof over your head, you can pay your bills, you can eat well, and you don't have to stress about money. It's very hard to be creative when you're worried about how you're going to pay your bills. So, I would say keep your job and work on your passion project whenever you can. And the last full-time real job that I had where I worked for other people, I would be writing all the time. I wrote on the bus on the way to work. I wrote on my lunch break. I wrote during the day when I should have been working. Like I couldn't stop myself, and I think that's the sign of something that you're really passionate about is you can't help yourself from doing it. And as much as we would all love to be like, "I quit, I'm gonna go and live my dream," like that's difficult and stressful in so many different ways. So the best thing to do is work on your passion project in your free time. Be appreciative that you have a job because so many people do not right now. And when you're ready, you can transition over.
Great, that's so true. Okay, so the next one is, "Why do I always feel guilty over things I have no control over? How can I stop thinking of myself as such a terrible person?" I know that's quite broad, so.
That's a big question. How can I stop feeling guilty? Well, I mean, if you were raised Catholic, that's going to be hard to do. But I think it's really about just trying to have that sense of forgiveness and self-acceptance and just understanding that you're doing the best that you can all the time. And your best is going to be different from day to day. So some days you're going to be killing it, and some days you're going to have trouble getting out of bed, and that's okay. The technique that I use to change my life is called tapping, which is basically acupressure combined with positive psychology. And I've written about it a lot on my website. If you just search tapping on my site, you'll find a lot of information about it. And it's a free technique, it's really easy to use, and it can really help you just reverse those thought patterns and mindsets that are not working for you anymore. So I would really recommend giving that a shot.
Fantastic. We'll definitely have to look into that. It's great. It's all available on your website as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next one's a little bit more specific, which is funny going from broad to super tight here. So I've decided not to have kids. I feel like I've got other things to offer the world. I'm sick of people making me feel guilty about my choice. What advice can you give me to kick the guilt to the curb?
I wrote an article about this years ago, which was about how people were constantly asking me when I was going to have children, and me thinking like, I don't want to have children, please leave me alone. This is so invasive and offensive. Because I feel like my ideas on children are shifting right now, but it used to be that I felt like I have other things I want to do with my time, and that's just not a priority for me. So I would recommend searching my website for the article. I think it's called like, I don't want to have children, am I a freak, why won't people leave me alone? But yeah, like it's really nobody's business what you choose to do with your body and your life. And I think people these days are a little bit more accepting and understanding that like if you're a creative person or you have dreams to travel the world and have a series of lovers or whatever, then that's fine. But you're always going to get those people who are nosy and or feel that you should replicate their lifestyle choices for whatever narcissistic reason. But really, I would just say to those people, like, it's none of your business. Like, I know what's best for me, so please don't tell me what to do with my life. Those people are just, I don't know, they think they know best, and I'm sure it comes from a place of kindness, and they're trying to help you, but it's really very unnecessary and unwanted.
That's really true. And it's such a personal decision too. Like you really have to look
Right.
inside yourself and come to terms with what you want.
Right, and unless you really want to have children, you're really doing those children a disservice. Like, I feel like all people that have children, we're able to make a conscious decision now about whether we want them or not. And if you want them, you should really want them, because this is not like getting a goldfish. This is an 18-year commitment at the absolute bare minimum. So you've got to be really in it.
So true. Okay, so this is a great one actually. I feel like it applies to a lot of our readers and a lot of people in our generation in general. So I want to take more time for me, but I don't know how. How can I fit self-love into my hectic lifestyle?
Okay, so there are so many things that we do that are not really contributing to our life, but they're just part of our routine. So maybe watching the news, or I don't know, even when you're like sitting in traffic or on the bus on your way to work or whatever, those are times that you can work on these little things that will help you feel better about your life. So maybe instead of just sitting on the bus and looking out the window, you have a notebook with you, or even on your phone, you just write a gratitude list every morning and you take stock of the things that you're happy about. Like, that's a really powerful technique, and you can do it in 5 minutes. It's really easy. Meditating, wake up like 5 minutes earlier and just sit up in your bed and meditate for 5 minutes. All of these things, you don't have to do them for a long time, and the effects are really cumulative. So even taking that short little gap to invest in yourself will pay dividends. And like another thing that you can do, I always find if I don't schedule something into my calendar, it doesn't get done. So Google Calendar is my best friend. So if you need an alert for 4:30 where you like take a coffee break, and instead of drinking coffee you sit and meditate, or you sit and journal or whatever, then do that. And that way it's hard to forget about it because it's on your calendar. It's literally going to get an alert that will remind you to do these things.
That's great, actually. I've met someone once that said that, you've got to schedule the time for yourself in, and I started doing that, and I found it really, really helpful because you just forget. You could lose like
Totally.
hours and hours. Like,
Totally. And it's really important for mothers especially. Like, mothers always say, like, I don't have any time. But the fact of the matter is, you're such a better mother when you take time for yourself. If you're not looking after yourself, you get resentful, you're grumpy, you're yelling at your kids all the time. So taking that time for yourself is really essential.
I think I might have saved the best for last. I really like this question. Okay, so what mantra or quotes can you recommend for when starts to give too many fucks?
Let me think. I don't know. I always love that other people's opinion of me is none of my business.
That's a good one.
It's one of my favorites. Um, but yeah, I don't know about mantras. I think you know you need to come up with something that's really useful for you, and something that I advocate is coming up with your own customized affirmations. So you can kind of mad lib your way to an affirmation. We just fill in the blanks and put in words that work for you. Like some people's affirmation might be like, "I am strong and powerful," but that may not work for you. So maybe it's better for you to say like, "I'm a badass bitch," and that will make you feel really good. So the words have to resonate. But if you go to my site, there's a little pop-up thing where you can put in your email address, and we'll send you a sheet of Mad Lib affirmations where you can fill in the gaps and create those custom affirmations. So that's a really awesome way to make affirmations feel useful. If the words don't feel true for you, then they're not going to do anything. So it's really powerful to create something that's totally custom and totally personalized.
That's fantastic. What a great idea. I love that. That's excellent. And that's all of the questions that we pulled out. But just
Okay,
as
cool.
sort of a last call for advice, I guess, most of our readers are people that are trying to do things, small things every day that are going to make the planet better in the long run. So
Yeah.
if that's social justice stuff, it's environmental stuff, lots of different things. And you've had an amazing life and an amazing journey. If you had one last piece of advice that you could bestow upon people that would be watching this, what would it be?
My advice would be that you're only limited by your mind. So anything you want to do, you can create, you can make it true. You just have to be passionate and convinced that it's important. With my book, when I was first thinking about publishing it several years ago, I went to various publishers and they were interested but not sure, and it was really discouraging. But then I realized I thought the message was important enough to put out, and so I decided to self-publish. So I hired an editor, I hired a graphic designer, I got this book put together, and I self-published it myself. And the rewards have been so massive from just taking the risk and believing that what I was doing was worthwhile. That's why I got a publishing deal, and that's why my book is in bookstores all around the world now. And so you have to be willing to back yourself. Don't look for other people to support your ideas. You don't need their support. You just need to back it yourself. And when you have that self-conviction, then you can really create anything. And that's the most important thing you can do.
That is absolutely fantastic. Thank you. I feel like I'm ready to go out and take over the world
Yes,
or something now. So,
that's the
yeah.
whole idea.